Pantsing versus plotting. What a marvelous topic. And I think the core topic for true creative writers and true creative writing. I didn't even know there was such a thing as pantsing. I made a Twitter X account many years ago, 2009 it was, but I didn't get on with it because you can only type little tiny sentences, and that wasn't my thing. But I've recently returned to it. I've been placed into the indie writers category for some reason. And I'm glad this happened because I love creative writing, and creative writing is important. It's much more important than people think it is. And so one day I am exploring Twitter X and I see somebody referring to creative writing as pantsing, flying by your pants. And I got quite upset. And I'm like, this is such a derogative term. How dare you? God damn it. And then I was informed it wasn't really a derogative term. It was just what the younglings these days call it when you just write and you don't have a plan, you don't have a plot, you don't have post-it notes, sticky tape, and God knows what else, and you just write. And I went, aha, yes, of course, this is what I do. I am an extreme pantser. Where do you even start with this? Okay, let's start with a simple little thing here. The Harry Potter author said that she was on a train in London and Harry Potter, the character, walked into the train and everything was there. The school uniform, the magic, the fact that he was going to this magical school, everything, the lightning scar, the whole backstory, everything just in an instant. And see, this is, to me, the core of real creative writing. There is a part of us, of all of us, not just creative writers and very creative people, but every human being who has this extra system that comes free of charge with being born as a human being. It's an extra system that can compute at n complexity, at unknowable complexity, that in 1/10 of a thousandth of a second, an entire story comes into being instantly, like that. It's all there. You don't have to make it up. You don't have to plot or plan it, because everything is there right at the beginning. That is incredible. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, that word incredible. It's hard to believe, but it is. It is a system of thinking that we all have, that very few people directly and consciously ever access, that can compute reality absolute in a completely different way than our conscious minds can. Now, this system was previously known as the sub or unconscious mind, and I always thought that was a really derogative way of talking about a system that can do something like that, that can create thousands of characters, landscapes, stories. Everything's there. Everything is connected already. All the metaphors are there. Everything. Like that. You know, how dare you call it sub or un? That's a terrible way to call it. And then one day I was writing something in German and it came to me that this mysterious system of information processing, if you will, of information processing is in fact our energy mind. It's the head and the neurology of the living energy body that people don't know that they have. but they do. Everybody has one. Whether they like this or not, everybody has an energy body, and this energy body has a head. It's also got hands that can do energy healing and a heart of energy and other things, but it has a head, and that head is the dear energy mind. And so I started calling it the energy mind. Not just that, I started calling it the dear energy mind, because I am in love with it. I'm in love with it. I am awed by it. I'm astonished by it. I am so grateful. So grateful it exists. And it isn't sub or un. It's awesome. It is absolutely awesome. It can do that thing of creating a world. Now, I talked about a character in a train, as an example. But think of this a different way. When you first step into any kind of world, as a creative person, as a creative writer, as somebody who daydreams or fantasizes or imagines themselves in different scenarios. Let's just go with the simplest little thing. All right. So you're a bit stressed, so you decide to think about something nice. And a nice place could be like a nice meadow in the summer by a little brook with some trees around it for protection. The sun is shining and there's lovely flowers in the meadow. So as soon as you do that, it's not just a static thing like a stage where you paint some flowers on the floor and hang up sheets from the walls with, a background of trees. It's not like that. It is a living world. And this living world is complex, infinitely complex. We can go in this little meadow. We can go and look at the trees blowing in the breeze, a leaf falling off and flying that way. Every single leaf that is flying off any tree in this little tiny meadow, its path is being tracked and calculated. Every flower that grows there, every snail that moves along, every bee that buzzes around, every bird that sings in the tree, all of that is happening organically, moving forward. And we've just created that. Just think about that for a moment. How insanely awesome that is, that our minds can do such a thing. It's incredible. Wow. This is a thinking system unlike anything at all any bean counters can do or any AI can do. Way beyond, way beyond. And yeah, right. So if you're a creative writer, then you know this. You know that you walk into this scene, into this room, and everything in that what you're in that world that you have just walked into is interacting, it is evolving, it is together, it is cohesive. Every detail in that thing is just perfect. Every detail. And it's moving because it is not like a real world. It is a real world with all the parameters of a real world, with the planet turning and the clouds moving and the sun shining and water dripping, everything. It's absolutely amazing. So why don't we make more use of that as human beings? Why don't we? I think it's the software that's the problem. The way we think about our own selves, our realities, reality absolute, and about the dear energy mind. It's bloody amazing. And there are some simple tricks or hacks that we can use to improve our pantsing. The first thing is, okay, stress. Mind your stress levels. The energy higher you are, the happier you are, the stronger, more powerful you feel, the more profound these experiences in the other worlds become. And if we get too stressed, we can't enter, our brain can't do it anymore. Our energy mind loses connection with our conscious thinking. And then at some point it flips over and then it starts producing crazy hallucinations, which are very unpleasant, but also and complex and amazing. But yeah, mind your stress levels. Mind your stress levels, particularly when you're feeling really blah and it can't be this. That's sort of where you're, I think of my dear energy mind as some kind of an angel dragon thing that is that I become, that my energy system becomes. Now raise your crown of lights, unfold your glorious wings. You own both day and night and do such splendid things. When your energy system is up and aware and the wings are expanded and the neck flexes smoothly, that's a good state to get into these other worlds and start describing them. So stress levels, that's number one, obviously. Please, I have a free modern stress management program with lots of tips how to, raise your energy. Please download it. It's available from goe.ac, 7 tips, 7 tips. And it's called 7 Tips for Happiness, but it's really 7 tips for energy raising. It's a stress management program. So go ahead and download that. That will help your creative writing, possibly more than anything else I could ever say or do or suggest, to make sure your energy high before you start. So that's number one. Number two, and that's even more important than anything else, is what I call the setup. See, I believe that the conscious mind, what I'm talking with, thinking with, and what you're listening with at the moment, is supposed to ask the questions, and the energy mind is supposed to answer. Many people have problems with this pantsing thing because they don't make a setup on it. Literally saying to your dear energy mind, give me a story that will uplift me, enlighten me, make me tons of money, whatever you want out of the story that you're going to write. So that out of all this literally infinite possibilities of stories, realms, places, loci, that your energy mind can pick the right one for you and deliver that to you. That is the key to the kingdoms. It's the key to the kingdoms. Dear energy mind, please give me something. Something to make me happier, something to make me brighter, something to make the audience more engaged and happier as they're listening to me. Please give me something. And my dear energy mind responds. It shows me blue banners drifting across the sky. Winds, invisible winds, like in the autumn when they're cool and fresh, but the sun is shining at the same time. And I'm like, the camera angle is there on the sky, and now we can draw down onto the land and see what lies before us. And it's a shore. It's the shore of the North, something like the North Sea, and that sort of shore with the slightly rough sand and the dunes and the things that stick out of the dunes, the grasses, those things. And I'm there on the beach. A habitat has been created in direct response to me asking for something. That's the point. That's what you need to understand about all pantsing, aka real creative writing, is that when we take conscious control of that and ask for a specific thing, a specific habitat to be created in which something can happen, in which something can unfold, then your dear energy mind is going to send you exactly that. They are incredibly faithful. Incredibly faithful. I learned that during negative tapping trauma therapy. People were asking every single day what's wrong with me. And their dear energy minds would send them every single day something new. And the more stressed they got and the more desperate, the weirder it got. I learned that we have an infinite creativity generator in our dear energy minds. We can ask these questions every day and it'll give us more and more crazy answers. But we can flip that around. Show me something new. Show me something blue. Show me something wonderful today. Something that will amaze me. Something that will excite me. Something that will delight me. What is the time of day? I love that. Huh. To see, people don't realize that this is predictable. This is predictable, repeatable, and it's simple. If you ask your dear energy mind a question, your dear energy mind will answer. And if your stress levels are on the positive side of the modern energy chart and you're not going crazy with the stress, it will give you something beautiful. It will give you something beautiful. The converse is true. If you're really stressed and depressed and you are completely in this trauma cult where everything's trauma, trauma, nothing but trauma, people might, without knowing, thinking, oh, give me a poem about even worse trauma than I wrote yesterday. Or there must be even more terrible trauma. What could it possibly be? And the dear energy mind responds with horrible scenarios. We are in control, consciously in control of what our dear energy mind will produce for us by asking questions. And so now this is also important. This is my part 3 here. It seems out there in the weird world where we only have 5 senses and not 6, there's either a thing where you need to absolutely get rid of the dear energy mind and its input. Need to beat it to death, never allow it to come in, keep it caged up, only look at data and blobs and just bore yourself until it has left the building. So you never have any creative thoughts at all any longer. That's the same school of thought that will have the sub or unconscious mind be this repository of all things horrible and devilish, and it's out to unconsciously sabotage you and all this business. They want to get rid of the unconscious mind. And that's just terrible. It's like cutting somebody's head off or their arms off. Ugh. But then you got the other way round, where you got these monks who are sitting and meditating all day and trying to stay in their energy mind all day long and try to get rid of the conscious mind. And they denigrate it and call it the monkey mind that is chattering away. My God, it's the exact opposite of the monkey mind. It's the exact opposite. I believe our conscious minds is what the monkeys don't have, and that's why they are monkeys and we are people. The conscious mind is the dear conscious mind, the precious, amazing, astonishing conscious mind. It's just as beloved and amazing and supposed to be just loved by the owners of said conscious mind as the dear energy mind and the body and the living energy body in every part of us. When the conscious mind gets to ask its questions and begins to understand and learn through personal experience that the dear energy mind will give you the answers, you are on the right track. You're on the right track. Don't ask questions like, what's wrong with me? Don't. Why? Don't do it. Ask some other question, a positive, beneficial question. Dear energy mind, give me something that'll make me learn something new. That makes, dear energy mind, give me something that I don't even know I need to know. Dear energy mind, give me something that will set me free from my old crazy thoughts and weird entrainments. We start with that, and then the energy mind answers. And when you do this for a while, and the way I suggest you do this is by doing short poems. Just short poems. Every day. Do a poem every day. Make a setup and get a poem delivered to you every day. Now, the Dear Energy Mind doesn't deliver you a poem. It delivers you a habitat, a world, a space into which you step, and there is something there. So you need to go into that and then describe it and make a poem out of it, surely, But I would just note down what it is that you see, hear, feel, and taste. Whether you want it to rhyme or not. At the beginning, I might suggest don't bother with rhymes. Just try and get a sort of slightly poetic rhythm going. And write a short poem every single day on different topics, like give me a poem that I can send to my grandmother, and she'd really appreciate that. And then let's just wait a while and see what unfolds, What is this habitat that this energy construct that your dear energy mind is sending you? And when I ask these questions, energy minds are incredibly honest. They're honest and truthful. They don't understand a rhetorical question. So when I said a poem for my grandmother, I immediately got delivered this room, a very nice, cozy, very old-fashioned room, possibly from 100 years ago, with sofas, sort of greenish sofas, with wooden legs and wooden arms. And there on the mantelpiece, there's a clock, like an old-fashioned clock with a wooden housing and this sort of round shape. And so that's my entrance into the poem for my grandmother. And now it's up to me to describe that in words, in conscious words, so that we can share that with another person. So we have something that I can send to my grandmother, which is really interesting. It's an interesting thing to do. That's then the idea. The idea is the entire habitat and all that it contains. Try it. That's all I'm asking. Try it. Start asking some questions, specific questions, make setups, get your energy mind to answer. It's just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It puts you back in charge of your own creativity. And so here we come to a little bit of something. I'm obviously old, guilty as charged. And I've been doing this for a long, long time. A long, long time, as I'm sure you have been doing too. Possibly ever since, you were a small child and you could first remember that you were making stories up, and you're not making up stories. You are creating worlds, and then you step into these worlds and you have adventures in these worlds. And you can have adventures being yourself, and you can have adventures being something else. You can imagine that you are a horse or a dog or a frog or a superhero. And yeah, all of these things we can co-create with our dear, dear energy minds. And it's super, super healthy for our living energy bodies. Especially if we live in environments, well, who doesn't live in environments that basically suck most of the time, having to sit at desks for work and having to sit at desks in school and university, or thinking about stuff that's boring and tedious and not getting enough happy sleep, not getting enough movement, not getting enough good food, all of that, sunshine, wind in our hair, all of that brings the energy body down. When we connect with a beautiful meadow with magical healing flowers and protective trees all around, the sun is shining down on us, we creative writers actually are living that, and it brings our energy body not just joy, but nutrition that can't be had in any other way. And this is something that I keep saying to people. The adventures that you are having, the experiences, the lived experiences, the energy movements that you're having in these realms, non-physical realms, those are experiences that you just can't have in the heart. They're different. And I think they should account for 50% of our lived experiences, just to be on the fair side. And we would be mentally healthier and happier, emotionally healthier and happier, possibly physically stronger, if that was the case. So, extreme pantsing. Here I have to speak as an old author for a moment. Obviously, I started out, just as I suggested, by finding out that I could write these poems every day, that I could ask for something to be given to me, and it was delivered. It was amazing. Sometimes these things sort of escalated into really quite long things. And it came to me that to ask for a specific length. A short poem, please. Please give me a short poem. And the energy mind did that. That was amazing. I was astonished by that. It wasn't just computing these things for me that they'd be awesome and just like this uncontrolled stream at all. You could put specifics on this. And I started playing around with that, like a story that should be no longer than 1,500 words, that is sexy about a vampire. And I'd write the story faithfully as it happened, so I get the picture of the vampire lady in her boudoir, and I start describing that. And then the story ends in a certain way, and I'm looking at it, that's cool. What's the word count? Word count is 1,450 words. And I'm like, how is that even possible? How does it do that? How is that happening? This is amazing. I started to really seriously play around with that and make various stipulations. Like one of them once was that a specific word count, I think it was 1,000 words, on the topic of metaphor that would cover all the keywords for Google, but also be readable for a normal person. Let's go. The more you do that, and the more feedback on this you're getting, and the more you try it, the more amazing this becomes. It's mind-blowing. I don't know how, as I said, I don't know how it does that. I think it's how our minds are supposed to function. They're supposed to work together, the conscious mind and the energy mind becoming one mind. One mind. And this one supermind, not because it has superpowers, but because the two together are more than the sum of their parts. This one supermind can do stuff that leaves you speechless, absolutely speechless. So once you've written a few hundred little poems and spells and all sorts, try different things, try different things, different formats, different rhyming styles, and you'd just be amazed what your dear energy mind can do for you and your conscious mind when they start to work together. It's bloody brilliant and absolutely wonderful. What this process of like writing little poems does is it starts to give you a little bit of faith and trust in your dear energy mind. To trust it, to understand how it works, to come to trust it as much as you can trust anything else that you do. The fact that you can make yourself a cup of coffee. It doesn't, you don't think of going into some kind of, oh, I don't think I could manage to make myself a cup of coffee today. I might drop the cup, I might pour boiling water over myself, or it might not work, or I might try to turn on the kettle and the electricity is not working. We don't think that way about making a cup of coffee. And I don't want us to think that way about writing a poem with a setup. We just write a poem with a setup, done. You can set the levels of metaphor. You can set the levels of audience. You can say, for example, dear energy mind, I want a story for children under the age of 11. I want a story for boys under the age of 11. I want a story for a group of people that includes children as young as 5 and adults as old as 95, and they're all gonna love it. The setup is the power. The setup is the power. But as I say, don't take my word for it. Play with it, try it out for yourself, mind your stress levels. Now, as this sort of developed, I came to trust my dear energy mind, really trust it. And I also came to often give it permission to tell me whatever it felt it wanted me to know. So that's the counterpoint when somebody says, but if you're actually putting a setup on it, it's not creative anymore. You've got to roll around in insanity in order to be. No, no, no. You can make a setup that gives the dear energy mind carte blanche to give you whatever the hell it wants. And for me, that setup was just, all right, sock it to me. That worked for me. By all means, try this in your own time. Find out what works for you, what words unlock this magic process from starting to unfold. So I was writing all sorts of things, articles, fairy tales, meditations. These meditations always had to be 15 minutes long, so that was super interesting. And my dear energy mind knew exactly how long a meditation had to be for 15 minutes and would just go for it. We'd just go for it. I sit down, I get the story, I write the story, do the word count at the end. Oh, yeah, perfect. Love it. Yay. It built up my confidence over time. And then so it came to pass that I felt I needed to write a novel because I hadn't written one since I was 15 or 14. And I literally just sat down and put my hand on my heart and said, I'll take down faithfully whatever you give me. And the result of that was in Serein. And as you probably all know by now, the end part where it locked in with the rest of it just blew me away. It just blew me away. That story never went off track. There's no incongruencies in there. There is nothing went wrong there. And the way the chapters are organized is mind-boggling. They're just so tidy and beautiful. And I didn't do any of that. There was not a post-it note involved in that. My dear energy mind calculated the whole thing for me. Wow. Really, wow. That was sort of my convincer. So a little bit later on, 5 years later or so, somebody challenged me to write a novel live on Google Docs, which was DragonLords. And I just laughed and I said, sure, let's do it. Because I had the confidence to do that. Knowing that there would be a book, a result, a fantasy novel would be resulting from that I could write it live and in real time and just prove the concept. This is proof of concept with tons of witnesses. God knows how many witnesses worldwide who watched me put one letter after the other into this document. It wasn't like writing it first and then uploading it. It was actually writing the damn thing live in front of an audience. As proof of concept that I'm not talking out of my ass here, that this is actually possible, that this can be done. Many people have done it before me, but there's a path to it. There is a path to it to unlock your abilities to do that. And that path is to watch your stress levels, make setups, practice with short pieces and with poetry to build up your confidence. And then eventually create your own proof of concept project, or not, as the case may be. I want all of us to understand, and this includes me very much, there is so much more to this and so much more power and magic to be unlocked in this amazing fact that human beings can live in the hard and in the other worlds as well. And that importantly, in the other worlds, we get to have experiences that we cannot have in the hard. And it is my assertion that these experiences in the other world are as important to build our immortality, to feed our souls, as the experiences in the hard. Just as important. And I'm going to stay on the safe side here and go with the 50-50. Let's try 50% hard and 50% other worlds. And that seems fair for now because we don't know enough about it. There's people who just want to go 100% in the other worlds and stay there all the time. This is difficult, and I do understand. I want that too. But yeah, just to be fair and just, and because we really don't know yet, humans as we are, what we're doing with these systems. I think let's try and go for 50-50. And we will learn a lot by doing that about the nature of human intelligence, human creativity, the human spirit, and that extraordinary system that will create a world faster than the speed of light. And all the information pertaining to it is there. And it's not static information, it is evolving information. As in this world, little worms grow, clouds move, people evolve. Wow. Mountains slowly erode. It's crazy that we can do something like that. Yeah, so that's extreme pantsing. Extreme pantsing is when you learn to trust your own faculties, your own mind, your supermind, conscious mind and energy mind working together for once in perfect harmony, as I believe they were designed to in the first place. And then we have what I then would think of in terms of as close as to true creative writing as we can get. But I'm happy as more people do this, as this unfolds, as we learn more about our true creativity, that new things become revealed. And perhaps there's going to be better methods, better ways to think in this extraordinary and expansive way that we were designed to think in the first place. I love it. Absolutely love it. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you've taken something from it. And I hope you'll write wonderful things, just wonderful things. I asked my dear energy mind once to give me a perfect blessing for a group of people. And it just was so beautiful that I love to repeat it because, yeah, as a goal for human beings. Now raise your crown of lights, unfold your glorious wings. You own both day and night and do such splendid things. Lots and lots of love to you. May your dear energy minds be loved, blessed, appreciated, and really wake up and totally blow your own socks off with what you can do as a creative writer, as a creative human being. Lots of love from me, and bye for now.